Let me get that recording. So again, we're going to go over this meeting tonight, and you'll understand what's happening at bargaining. We are all on the bargaining team, the three of us here, as medical assistants, and how this is going to affect medical assistants, how our proposals differ from Kaiser's proposals, what our rights are to strike, and what the strike would look like. Those are some of the things we'll discuss today. The three things we would each need to do to fight and win this contract we want is, first, we got to vote yes to strike, because we got to vote yes because Kaiser don't want no mess, right? And I can bring the mess because mess causes stress. All right. However, and we're going to come out for our Labor Day rallies to show Kaiser our power, because power is in numbers. So with all of us there together, united together, that's showing our power to Kaiser. And then we're going to get out and strike. I've been on the strike line since I was 4 years old with my mom. I grew up in a union family, so I know what I have to do to win my contract and the contract that we all deserve. So we will be taking questions at the end. No worries. Don't worry about that. At the end of the meeting, we'll take questions, but we need to stay connected for updates about bargaining. So you can hear, you will see. If you pull out your phones, if you're not on your phone, if so, not worry about it. Later, when we take Q&A, you can let us know or put in the chat later that you're not able to get these QR codes. And then if you go ahead and scan the QR code, if you need to, for someone that is not getting updates, this is our resource information board here. So you can scan to text to opt in for text, or you can opt in for email, and you can also do the bargaining update web page. Okay, and then they'll also drop that in the links for you guys in the chat. All right, Yolanda.
Thank you, Kim. As you all know, patient care is in crisis at Kaiser, and we're paying a heavy price for it. I would like for you guys to take a moment and check out these videos and hear some of the patient care stories that we are all experiencing.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, I didn't think we'd get here.
The patients, they just don't deserve that. So I'm sorry. I have a elderly patient. She just turned 80 in October.
I was on vacation and I came back to find out my patient had passed.
A patient came into the hospital and she reminded me of my mother.
She's having complications from her wound. I told her she needs to go to the emergency room.
She was a mom, she was a grandma. She had a great personality, a little feisty. When I saw her name on the schedule, I always knew my day was gonna be a good day.
A patient of mine was screaming, crying at the top of her lungs. She was in fetal position. She was all alone.
She waited about 9 hours because they didn't have any rooms, because it was short-staffed.
We didn't have adequate staff in order for someone to be there with her.
She was dealing with cancer, stage 4, and had metastasized really, really bad. That day when she came in, she was scared. She was crying. She was in a lot of pain.
This woman's in her 80s with an open wound. So imagine you're sitting like this, continually trying to change the gauze because it's soaking wet for 9 hours.
It ended up taking 6 hours before she had any relief from her pain.
She was sick, couldn't get an appointment, went to the hospital, passed away with the flu. I was in shock. I was angry.
What if that was your mom? How would you feel?
All she really wanted was some relief from the pain so she could get back to her life.
If that's the best that we can do, it's not good enough at all because it makes the patient suffer.
Management needs to do something about this short staffing, and it needs to happen now.
I need you to understand that people's lives are literally at stake here. Hospital corporations are failing our patients.
Wow. I know we all can relate to the video. Even before the pandemic, we were constantly short-staffed, and now it's even worse. Think about how short staffing has affected you and your patients. I know how the lady in the video just said, what if it was your mom? Well, it was my dad. My dad went by ambulance to the emergency room. He had a catheter, maybe looking like maybe he had a urinary tract infection by the way his bag looked. We sent him in the evening around like 8, 9 o'clock. He went by ambulance. We knew we couldn't go in because of COVID. By 11 o'clock the next morning, he had septic shock and had died. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the ER staff had told us, he's fine. He's just waiting for a room. He's in the hallway. He's on some oxygen. Our family lost our father, our papa, our staple, because of short staffing. Somebody should have had a moment to put an additional set of eyes on him and not just breeze by him in the hallway. And I know, let's be real, patients are suffering. More are going to die. And Kaiser, if Kaiser gets the contract that they are asking for, that's why we have to stand up. We are doing the work of 2 and sometimes 3, or in Kim's case, 5 people. She has 5 physicians at times in her department, and we are working with multiple doctors. We are so burnt out. We are so exhausted. There's such a high turnover in my department in adult and family medicine. I'm a trainer. I know Kim's a trainer. I know Tanya trains. We train, and as soon as they hit their 6 months, they are gone. They can't tolerate the workload. We make less than a lot of positions in the hospital, and we're also facing the rising cost of living. Like, that's no secret either. It's harder than ever to make ends meet. Many people are taking on additional jobs or leaving Kaiser altogether. Tanya, how about you?
Well, it's short staff in my department too, Yolanda. It's crazy because I'm working with 2 doctors every day, and sometimes it's almost 20 patients on each doctor's schedule.
Awful.
It's hard for me to, and it's hard for me to give excellent service when I'm rushing, not giving my patients the full attention they deserve. What about you, Kim? I know you work with a lot of doctors.
Oh my goodness. So as I stated earlier, I know a lot of people are just now coming in. Some that didn't get here earlier when we introduced ourselves. And I said, I've been here for 26 and a half years. I started in 1997 when this partnership with Kaiser started, right? So I work now, I've been in the nephrology department at South Sac for about 22 years. Okay, probably longer than some of you are of age, right? So, but I look good for my age, y'all. I know, not that long. I started before birth. So, however, I've worked with 5 doctors, as Yolanda stated to you all. I work with 5 doctors by myself. So, short staffing, when I need to take vacation and I go on vacation for a week, guess what? When I come back, my work's stacked up. I have work because all they can do is bring another medical assistant in what we do, because we all know how to room patients and do vitals and put the patient in the room and maybe take a message and give it to the doctor. But the extensive work, it's still there when I get back. But that is somehow what I do. So let me show you what we are out here bargaining for, what our top priorities are. Raising healthcare worker pay to keep up the cost of living, because it's very expensive. We all know that. No, Southern Cal, Northern Cal is expensive. We want to establish, what to say here, a $25 an hour minimum wage for all healthcare workers. We also want to fix our broken hiring process, because we know that's broken, trying to get new ones in, and eliminate hurdles that's preventing full staffing. So this is some of the things with our top bargaining, but we also want to make a massive investment in the education of training of future healthcare workers. I was going to say Futuro, because I don't know if you all know about that, but we'll get back to that later. However, those are our top bargaining priorities right now. So we have these so that we can retain the workers that we have and then recruit new workers, right? Because we need them. But Kaiser is refusing to bargain with us. After 5 months, and Tanya, Yolanda, and I are all on the bargaining team, been going for 5 months, it's clear Kaiser's strategy, and everybody has a strategy, and Kaiser's strategy is to delay until our contract expires on September 30th. I'm pretty sure that that's their strategy. We done figured it out. So at our last bargaining, Kaiser didn't come to the table. We spent hours just sitting there, waiting for Kaiser to come. We waiting to come with a counter proposal or our proposals, but they never did. But look, guess what we did? We still sat around and we continued to work. We're working because we have our proposals. They have our proposals. We sat around and did consensus decision making and trying to come to a consensus of the things that we want Kaiser to do. And we already done that, but we just replan it, right? We did interest-based problem solving. We just, we continue to work. That's what I'm going to say. We continue to work while we waited on them to come back to the table. And on that, so, they're trying to divide us. Basically, that's what they're doing. They're trying to divide us, but we stood strong. We even went out and supported other strikes that were going on while we were waiting on Kaiser to come to the table, because we're in it to win it. I know I am. And I'm going to take whatever it is, that I have to do, but I'm not going to take whatever Kaiser is going to deal us out. I'm not taking that. And I hope you all will not either. So the result is we have never been this far. And I was at the 2019 bargaining also. So I was there also. So I know for a fact that we have not been this far apart with Kaiser management and this late in the game, I want to say, this late in bargaining, in this process on key issues that we need to address. So on like our raises, our PSP bonuses, I know everybody was upset about that. So I say this to everyone that was upset about the PSP bonus, like, oh, and they were like, what are the union? What we're doing? I was like, that was like no more than $1,200, $1,500. What's more important, that PSP bonus or your retirement, your benefits? Okay, you get your kids covered, everybody, we're covered, your spouses. That's more important to me than a one-time little bonus. Okay, because that is for a lifetime when we're with Kaiser. So we're doing that. We're looking at differentials. We're looking at staffing and job security, because everything matters and we're looking at it all. All right, so we have another one. Let me go over this with you all. Okay. This is what as you see here on the screen in the purple, that's us. I live by my purple. I don't know if you guys can see through my blurs. I'm at home, got a purple shirt on. But anyway, we have with Kaiser, they want cost of living increases, no proposals to raise wages, just lots of talk. That's what they're doing. However, we're not playing with them. What did they give those nurses? Y'all know what they gave those nurses? We don't deserve no less than that. I will not accept no less than 7%, 7%, 6.25 and 6.25. We deserve that. I know you guys know we do medical assistants. We do a lot of work. We do more work than the nurses. And we do. All right. They're doing the shift differentials. They don't want any change. For us, we want to raise differentials that have been stagnant for decades. Those shift differentials, I think it's 30 years that they haven't changed it. And they're working, people working all on shifts. Okay. Then we have minimum wage. We're trying to help everyone. My kids, I'm trying to get them with Kaiser. They would love to get a $25 hour minimum wage to work at Kaiser. It's competing with FedEx, Target, and some of our hotel workers. And then we have the PSP. I know you all probably have lots of questions about the PSP, but I'm gonna kill it right now like I did earlier. We are already on top of that. Okay, so we're asking for a guaranteed $1,500 minimum bonus when we meet our goals. Guaranteed. Ain't no, we didn't meet a financial gate, we didn't do this, you don't get your bonus. No, you need to give me at least $1,500. Now we can talk about that. But we want to keep our benefits, we want to keep our retirement and all of that. However, we're asking for that. And same unified bonus program for line staff and managers. Because we all in this together, right? You see what Kaiser says? If financial targets aren't met, no bonus for frontline workers. Well, we the one built you, Kaiser. I made you. I've been here since 1997. I helped build this partnership and I work well with it. And so do all of you. And we have to fight for that, because the managers and execs, they get bonuses regardless of a financial performance. It doesn't matter. And I won't even go into me being senior medical assistant and having to open the doctor's mails and seeing stuff. Okay, so we just don't go past that. However, let's look at what else we have next. Our next slide. We'll look at the next slide. Tom, are you there? Moving the slides.
It's Anthony who's got the slides. Anthony, can you advance the slide, please?
While we're waiting for that, Kim, I think that it's so important that we have these conversations, because I don't think a lot of people in the North understand the South doesn't make the same as the North. And that's why that $25 minimum wage is so important. It's not just for the young folks, it's for our people right now that can't afford to come to work. And also the importance of that raise and how that raise this year compounds to next year and then compounds to the next year. Such value in that across the board raises. And here's your staffing slide, Kim.
No, hey, we getting it. That's right. You tell them. All right. So our next slide, okay. So on staffing, this is what we're looking at as a coalition. And I don't know if all of you know what it means as far as a coalition. It's not just UHW. We are UHW, but the coalition of unions, there's other unions like Local 20 and OPIU, and they're in different areas. We're fighting all together. We're fighting as a team, as a family. So we're going to continue to fight that way. So as a coalition on staffing, we want increased investment in education and training of KP employees. And I don't even have to read you all KP's responses because you all can see that. I'm going to read you what you see here that we, UHW, and our coalition are fighting for. The increased investment in training new workers to fill positions, paid internships and preceptors to get people into hard field jobs. Okay, like me working by myself, one medical assistant with 5 doctors. You all, one medical assistant, 2 doctors. Okay, so we need to get them paid to fill some of these jobs to help us do that. We want guardrails to limit registry use. We don't want any registry coming in. We want to eliminate unnecessary experience barriers to filling jobs. So if you've been with Kaiser for 5 years and you've taken on school and maybe if you're a medical assistant becoming an LVN, you should already be able to get into that job without experience barriers, right? And then we want to promote qualified people who get licenses and certifications, as I just spoke of, into the hard to fill jobs. And also report vacancies regularly and justify not filling those positions. That's what we're at bargaining asking for. And as you see here, Kaiser Permanente, our employer is refusing to respond to all of those things. And then on job security, we want continued protections against outsourcing and subcontracting that we negotiated in our last contract in 2019. At Kaiser, as Kaiser grows, good union jobs should grow also, correct? And then we should maintain current job security protection for our workers, work with the people who do the work when changing job descriptions, that's us, the union, and provide stability to remote workers. Those are the things we're asking for. Now here on job security, this is what Kaiser says. Make it easier to outsource and subcontract our work. They're definitely doing that. I heard them say it at the table. Invest $5 billion in buying up non-union health systems to lower standards for KP employees. And I don't know if you all know about that, but they are buying up we'll talk about that part later. We're going to expand the probationary period is what they want to do. They wanted to expand the 90-day probationary period to allow more time for Kaiser to fire people without cause, right? If they make it one, then make whatever changes they want to our job descriptions without negotiating with us, and make remote workers return to work in facilities without discussion with our adequate notice. So those are the things that they are doing. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Tanya to go over some things with you.
Okay, thanks, Kim. I'm gonna just go over what's at stake for us medical assistants, okay? First I'm gonna start with our pay. Do y'all know that Kaiser says that we're overpaid? They say we're 9% overpaid in the Sacramento and Fresno regions. They say we're 31% overpaid in Southern California, but that's not true. We all know that's not true, right? Our wages are not keeping up with the cost of living. Some of the commutes to work are increasing, but our pay is not, okay? Also, I'm gonna talk about staffing. Medical assistants is the classification with the largest number of vacancies in Kaiser, okay? We started the year with 1,159 medical assistant vacancies. Okay, it takes an average of 97 days to fill a medical assistant position. We see this every day because we are doing the jobs of 2 to 3 people. We can't get time off and patient care suffers. Management always wants to do more with less and won't hire new people to lower our workloads. That's why we can't retain staff. We have a great program for Toro Health that Kaiser is paying for to train medical assistant, but Kaiser won't actually hire these people. Okay, now I want to talk about life-work balance. Because Kaiser is short staff across the board, medical assistants often have to make up the difference. They push us to keep up with the quotas and punish us if we don't meet them. It really impacts our stress and quality of life. And a lot of medical assistants go out on stress leave, and there's no backfill allowing for more time off. Now I want to talk about quality of care. Patients aren't receiving the care they deserve because we are understaffed. They aren't able to get medications filled in a timely manner. Message turnarounds are taking longer than ever. So, you know, there are serious delays in care. So basically, I want to share with you guys what's personally at stake for me with this contract, okay? Most concerned about keeping up with the cost of living and maintaining a standard of living for my family. I'm a single mom, okay, with 2 teenagers. They can't afford to move out. I want them to move out, but they can't afford to move out. They're going to school. Everything is so expensive, gas, food, rent is going up, and our wages need to go up along with it and need to keep up. So, Kim, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think they know how I feel about it. 26 and a half years. So as you all may know, I may not look like I'm close to retirement. I just had to say that. But I am, and I'm still here fighting for all of you, everybody that's coming up behind me. I want to keep what I have. I want you all to keep what you have. That's important to me. I want everything. I want everybody to have what they have to make sure that we can continue to live here, that we continue to survive with the way the world is going now. And Kaiser just doesn't care. They don't care about their employees, because if they didn't, the facts that you just seen, they wouldn't be there. And I'm here to speak on this personally to you all as a medical assistant. I know how hard we work. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead. We have our fearless leader here, Mr. Dave Reagan. I'm going to give it over to him so he can go over some of the negotiations of our fight. You're on mute, Dave. You guys may have to unmute him. Ask him to unmute. There we go.
Okay, sorry about that. So I was just saying, thank you, Kim, and good evening, everybody. And also thank you, Yolanda and Tanya. I think the 3 bargaining team leaders that, have gone through the presentation did a really good job of laying out the basic facts. And what I want to do here is hopefully provide a little bit more context on what we think is going on with the dynamics of the negotiations and, just some of the interplay, I think, between ourselves and Kaiser. And then the second thing I want to do is take people through a set of questions around our right to strike, what the implications of striking are, and what all of that means. But where I want to start is Kim mentioned that, her career at Kaiser really has tracked the existence of the partnership, and the existence of the partnership has been for just about 26 years now. We just had our 25th anniversary, and there was a lot of celebratory announcements and talk around that. But I think we can all say categorically from the bargaining team that these negotiations that we're now in are unlike anything that has taken place during the 25-year history of the partnership. And there's a set of reasons for that, and I want to share a few of them with people. The first thing is that Kaiser has a new CEO. Greg Adams, who's now the CEO of Kaiser, was not the CEO 4 years ago, the last time we bargained the contract. And since Greg ascended to the top job at Kaiser, what we've seen leading up to our negotiations is negotiations with other groups of unionized employees become much more contentious and Kaiser becoming much more aggressive. And I just want to share a couple of examples with you. About 2 years ago, Kaiser bargained a contract with the other significant union coalition called the Alliance. They represent about 35,000 people, overwhelmingly in Southern California, and also overwhelmingly registered nurses. They reached a 4-year agreement, and they sent a 10-day strike notice to Kaiser, but the 4-year agreement they ended up settling for had annual pay increases of 3%, 3%, 2%, and 2%. And what that means is that on October 1st, 1 month from now, 35,000 folks, including the registered nurses in Southern California, are going to get a 2% pay increase. And a year from October 1st, October 1 of 2024, they're scheduled to get another 2% pay increase. Whatever the decision-making was around that agreement, we have said to Kaiser, those levels of increases are totally unacceptable to us. They are non-starters. We have no intention of coming anywhere close to that. But nonetheless, that's a settlement that Greg and his leadership team was able to get a couple of years ago, and they keep pointing to it. And in a few minutes, I'm going to come back to some of the other issues around that. Second example I want to give you is that about 18 months ago, those of you in Northern California probably remember there was a 13-week strike by a group of 750 operating engineers. They had had a contract with Kaiser for 40 years. They had always bargained what they called a pattern. They had a formula basically to arrive at, the terms of the contract every time they did it. And a year and a half ago, Kaiser decided, well, we're not going to do it like this anymore. We want to change it. It's only 750 people, but we're going to put our foot down and we're going to provoke a confrontation. A 13-week strike happened. Those folks returned to work right before Christmas in 2021. 2 years later, they still don't have a new collective bargaining agreement. Again, a change in the way bargaining has been happening between Kaiser and groups of unionized employees. 6 months ago, and Kim alluded to this, not 6 months ago, 9 months ago, Kaiser settled with the registered nurses overwhelmingly in Northern California who were represented in the California Nurses Association, the CNA. They also did a 4-year agreement, but that contract was 6%, 6%, 5.25%, 5.25%, compared to the contract of 3.322 in Southern California. However, 23 of the 24,000 nurses covered by that contract are in Northern California. 1,000 of them are employed at the Los Angeles Medical Center, also known as Sunset, one of Kaiser's largest facilities. And in the same agreement, they settled for 3.5, 3.5, 3, and 3. And so what our bargaining team has seen, and what we want everyone to understand, is Kaiser is pointing to the agreement that was reached with the Alliance, because that group more closely represents the same people that we represent, and the Southern California settlement that they reached 9 months ago. And for the first time in the history of the partnership, what Kaiser is giving every indication that they intend to do, but they haven't given us a formal proposal, is that they want to give different percentage increases across the board, annual pay raises for workers in Northern California versus Southern California. And what we believe on the bargaining team, and what I would suggest to you, is if we establish the precedent that it is okay to bargain different economic terms in Northern California versus Southern California, we will never get off that down escalator. And for those of you in Northern California, I think it's important to recognize that healthcare benefits are a lot more expensive in Northern California than Southern California. And so what I don't want to be in a position, and I know none of you in the North, is to be in a position in a future negotiation where Kaiser is arguing, well, we do different pay raises based on which region you're in, and now we think people should pay for healthcare in one region versus another, because the benefits are a lot more expensive in the North than they are in the South. So all of those things, they're just 3 examples of how Kaiser's approach to negotiations has been far more aggressive, far more confrontational, and breaking long established practices and precedents that have existed for 25 years inside of the coalition and inside of the partnership. I also want to mention that I think it was Kim said that, you know, these negotiations, the coalition is larger than UHW. That's true. It totals 85,000 people. 58,000 of them are UHW members, but the coalition members work in California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Northern Virginia, and Maryland. It really is a national operation. And the reason I say that is that right now in the United States, these negotiations are the largest set of contract negotiations for union members at a single employer anywhere in the country. This is a big deal. This is a lot of people. There's a lot of attention that we feel that we're starting to get and will continue to get more of. And we think all of that is important about the way we talk about the issues that matter to us and try to frame the whole conversation. The other thing I want people to know, a departure from what's happened in the past, and the ladies alluded to it before, it is literally true that last week in Los Angeles, we had 3 days scheduled to do contract negotiations, and Kaiser's management bargaining team refused to enter the room, the main negotiating room at the hotel where we all work. That has never happened in the history of the partnership. Never before have they literally refused to come in and talk to us, to present their proposals, to make their arguments, to ask their questions, to do any of that. And all of this adds up to something that I think we have to recognize, that this is a different kettle of fish than anything we've ever experienced before. And so, as Yolanda said at the very outset of this, the reason we're holding these meetings, it's not because we got nothing else to do, it's because we want people to know this is serious. There is a lot at stake here. There are huge differences between 6s and 2s or 5s and 2s, all of that kind of thing. Those are big pay differentials that compound every year that somebody has to work going forward into the future. And all of the different precedents about regional variation are also right there in the crosshairs of these negotiations. And so what we as the bargaining team are saying to you is, you know, what used to work isn't working. We used to go in the room and we used to settle our differences. We used to talk to each other. We used to exchange proposals. And right now, that's just not happening. And we think it's the newest chapter in this, more aggressive approach to bargaining that Kaiser has adopted. And so we're saying to folks, right now, we really need two things. We need people to vote to give strike authorization authority to the bargaining team. That in order to get the contract that we think people want and we think people deserve, we believe we have to use every tool at our disposal. And we have been convinced over the last 5 months that just going and talking to Kaiser isn't likely to get us to where we want to go. And so we're asking the members across UHW and across the coalition in votes that started Monday of this week and are going on all across California and all across the country to please get informed on the issues, talk to your representatives on the bargaining team, and we're asking for people's support to give the committee the authorization to send an official notice to call for a strike. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a moment. The second thing we're asking for is for people to show up on Labor Day. We're doing large-scale events in Oakland, in Los Angeles, in San Diego. We think there's going to be a lot of press attention, not just local press, but national press, because these are big and significant negotiations. And this year is unlike anything we've experienced recently. The actors are on strike in Hollywood. The screenwriters are on strike in Hollywood. The United Auto Workers right now are negotiating with the big three, General Motors, Ford, and what used to be Chrysler. It's now called Stellantis. And the UPS workers just settled their contract with the Teamsters. So there's a lot more attention. I don't know who this is, but thank you. There's a lot more attention and there's a lot more interest, I think, among the public in doing this. But to summarize all of that before I get to the questions, we are not trying to be Chicken Little, and we're not trying to say the sky is falling. What we are trying to say to people is this is real, it is serious. All of the signs, all of the signals, all of the evidence is Kaiser is wanting to take a much more aggressive and a more long-term focus about how do they, pare down costs, how do they restrict people's rights, how do they lower compensation, how do they reduce benefits and other terms on the job. And we believe we have to take unprecedented action and hopefully have unprecedented unity to deal with it. So with that, I want to turn to an informational piece. We have a couple of slides here I want to share with people. And this is an FAQ. It's something that we've been putting out at all of the strike votes that we've been holding for the last 3 days, 4 days now, and we'll continue to do it. The simplest thing is just what is a strike? And, it's worth saying again that a strike is just a decision that a group of workers make collectively to withhold their labor in an attempt to persuade and to force their employer to do the things that they won't otherwise do. It's never used as a first, the first thing you're looking to do. It's generally, much more like a last resort. And we really do feel like, we have to have this authorization. We have to have this tool. We have to have this amount of pressure to be able to negotiate the kind of contract we're looking for. By the way, I also want to say to people that we have filed about 20 unfair labor practice charges with the National Labor Relations Board. These charges are overwhelmingly making the case that Kaiser is illegally bargaining in bad faith. I know that people talk about good faith and bad faith all the time. It's actually a legal standard, and Kaiser has violated it. When Kaiser refuses to enter the negotiating room, that's illegal. When Kaiser refuses to provide information to the bargaining team on profitability in different regions, on cost structures, on any number of economic issues, which they have refused to give to us, that's illegal. And I just want people to know that, yes, we have the right to strike. We're also pursuing all of the legal channels and all of the legal avenues we have to provide people with as much protection and as much support as we can. But that's what a strike is. When do we strike and for how long? That's ultimately a decision that has to be made by the elected bargaining team. Right now, in the votes that we're holding across California, we're saying to people, we are asking for authorization to call for a strike up to 2 weeks in duration. You know, basically a 10-day, Monday to Friday kind of thing, but a 2-week strike. We think that, you know, we're hopeful. We believe that that amount of seriousness, that amount of pressure will be enough to get Kaiser to conduct negotiations in the way we need to do it. We are required, because we are healthcare workers, to give what's called a 10-day notice. So healthcare workers, unlike auto workers or Teamsters, because we do life and death work, we can't say on Monday we're going on strike on Tuesday. We have to give our employer, in this case Kaiser, at least 10 days notice of calling a strike. So what we're asking for in the authorization votes is for members to vote in favor of giving the bargaining team the ability to call for a strike up to 2 weeks in duration, and then be able to send the proper 10-day notice to do that. So that's a decision to be made. Can I bring my kids to the picket line? Absolutely, you can. We want the picket lines to be upbeat, to be festive, even to be celebratory. You can bring your kids, you can bring your partner, your significant other, your spouse, your friends, your families, neighbors. We want these to be big. We want these to be visible. These are going to be going on in those states that I mentioned earlier, all across the country. And we think, you know, this is a story that really has unique resonance this time around. Do I need to attend the strike line? Well, the answer to that is yes. Striking is not a passive thing. Going on strike is a contact sport, not a spectator sport. And if we're going to be successful, you know, we need to be visible. We need to be talking to the press. We need elected officials to be able to see us. You know, we can't be just wallflowers, you know, and then hoping it all works out. And so, you know, if we call for a strike and have a strike, the expectation is that people come and attend the strike line, you know, particularly at high traffic areas in the day, or when, you know, there's special events going on. Do I need to tell my supervisor I will not be working? Or should I, you know, do I need to call out? The answer to that is no. I mentioned a minute ago that because we're healthcare workers, we're required to give a 10-day notice. That 10-day notice is blanket notification to every supervisor at Kaiser that the members of UHW will be on strike from this date until this date, from this time until that time, and nobody has to make individual arrangements or talk to their supervisor, their department head, their administrator. A lot of times supervisors will try to tell you you need to do that. You don't. You don't have to worry about who's replacing you. You don't have to, you know, get anything. You know, you don't have to worry about the logistics of any of that. And the 10-day notice that we send is on behalf of everybody. It's a collective notice. It covers everybody in terms of notifying the higher ups at Kaiser. Can I be disciplined for participating in our strike? The answer is no. We have a protected legal right to strike. The specific formal term is going on strike provided as healthcare workers that we've given the 10-day notice. It's called protected concerted activity. Right now we're voting to see if we get authorization to send a notice, and if we do, and if we give the 10-day notice, everybody has the right to strike. You can't be retaliated against, you can't be disciplined, you can't have your shift changed or your assignment changed. All of that is retaliation, all of that is illegal. People have a protected legal right to engage in concerted activity. Will we be paid for joining the strike? Two-part answer. So you will not be paid your regular wages from Kaiser. I also want to say to people, the question comes up a lot about, you know, can I put in for vacation or can I put in for sick leave? The answer to that is no. If it turns out that you already had a vacation scheduled for days that were out on strike, you won't be paid for those days, but you also won't lose those days. They will remain in your bank and you won't, have them reduced or debited, whatever the right word is. I want people to know that we have a strike fund. It's got about $17 million in it, and we are prepared to empty that fund to support people in the course of the strike. This is obviously a huge group of people. It's 58,000 folks. We want the money to be able to go to those instances where people really need help and it does the most good. We've been having conversations inside of UHW for the past year about giving people guidance and advice and help on how do we prepare for a strike? How do you plan ahead, save money in order to weather a 2-week strike? But obviously your regular wages aren't paid, sick leave isn't paid, vacation leave isn't paid. We will have resources and a hardship fund to be able to help people, but it's going to be a sacrifice and we shouldn't act like it's not. Striking is hard and striking is difficult, which leads me to the next question. Well, what if I can't afford to strike? I think in the next few days, this is the time to have the heart-to-heart conversation with lots and lots of coworkers. And I know we've been having thousands of these already this week. I really think what it comes down to is if you look at the recent negotiations and what's gone on with other groups, we have one standard of 3% and 2%. We have another standard of 6% and 5%. We have this challenge of the difference between Northern California and Southern California. And the cost of us not finding the wherewithal to stand together and to sacrifice and to fight together will be felt for years and years to come. Whether or not we strike is a decision that the members get to make. And people are free to make that decision, but we're not doing our job as the bargaining team if we tell people that we can bargain the kind of contract that you're looking for if we don't have the ability to do this. Kaiser is looking for a cheap deal. They are behaving worse than they've ever behaved in any previous set of negotiations. This is not imaginary. We're not making this up. This is real. And so the stakes are high, and we're asking everybody to really think long and hard and dig deep. And can we find it in ourselves to be able to stick together and fight back? Next one. So I think I already answered about the vacation and sick days. So you will not be paid for those during a strike. Can I strike if I'm on probation or on call? The answer to that is absolutely yes. Probationary and on-call employees have the exact same legal rights as full-timers and part-timers. It doesn't matter if you were hired the day before the strike starts, you have the same legal right to join your coworkers and support your coworkers. And that's also a question that comes up all the time. Can non-union members join our picket line? The answer to that is yes. And in fact, I hear from members across the state who are talking to other people in their facilities, sometimes doctors, sometimes nurses, sometimes other folks who aren't in the coalition, but we welcome all of the support from anybody who's not in UHW or not in the coalition. And we think that's important as part of us putting our best foot forward. Okay, it's a little blurry. Will there be food on the strike line? The answer to that is yes. That we do want the strike line to be a place where people can gather, where people can get information, where it's upbeat, it's enthusiastic. And, if you're bringing your kids or you're bringing your family, it's also a place you can, you don't have to worry about, getting lunches packed or anything like that. You'll be able to get that at the picket line. Will I lose my health benefits if I go out on strike? The answer to that is no. People's health benefits are secure. The only time we run into questions around health insurance is if we're on a strike for more than 1 month and we're not contemplating doing that right now. We're looking at a strike of up to 2 weeks. And so that's just not an issue and people's benefits are secure. And then the last question is, what will happen to our patients during a strike? So it's up to Kaiser to make arrangements and to make accommodations to care for patients. That's why we're required to give the 10-day notice. And so that's something they have to do. That's why we have to give a notice. And I think what we should anticipate is if we give a notice, that as the date approaches, you'll see a reduction in admissions, you'll see a reduction in the scheduling of procedures. There'll be all sorts of things that have to get dialed back, because there's just no way in the world that Kaiser can replace 85,000 people in dozens and dozens and dozens of job classifications and have these places operate anywhere close to normal. So with that, I just want to close before I hand it back to the ladies here, that this is serious. The stakes are high. We wish it were just about being right. And if it were about being right, we'd be in a very different place in these negotiations. And what I say to every bargaining team is, in every set of negotiations, it gets to the point where it's not a debate, it's not about right and wrong, it's just a power struggle. And so the question for us right now is, can we summon the power to get to where we want to go on the positions that Yolanda and Tanya and Kim laid out previously? So with that, appreciate everybody joining tonight, and I'll hand it back. I'm not sure who's next, but
it'll go to me. Back to me, Dave. Thank you. I appreciate you. We so appreciate Dave being here. We don't get leaders like that, that'll come, he's the one that called this meeting to bring us all together so you can hear it straight from his voice and us from the bargaining team. And I do appreciate that. We all appreciate that. But let me just go here. This is what we need to do now, you all. We are going to take some questions in just a moment, but here's what we need to do to win this contract that we so earned, okay? As Dave stated, need to have a huge yes vote on our strike vote. Everybody needs to find out in your facility when your strike vote is being held, where it's being held, and you need to get out there and vote, and you need to vote yes, because numbers mean power. Kaiser needs to see that we mean business. Any people voting yes, that we are willing to strike, that's gonna knock them to their knees. So we need you guys to get out there and vote. We need a huge turnout on our Day action. So check with your facility, see where your Labor Day action is going. Please join in, get on the bus, as they call it. Get on the bus and go to the Labor Day action and support, because that is a day for us that do the labor every day. That's why we're out there on Labor Day. And then we're going to show Kaiser that we're ready to strike. And then let me share with you all why I'm willing to strike. I'm willing to strike for respect, for my respect from Kaiser, for your respect from Kaiser. As one of our leaders, Vicki Jackson, said, we have to teach them how to treat us. And by us voting yes to strike, that's going to teach them. We're 85,000 strong here with UHW in this coalition. We're 85,000 strong. They can't handle it. So I want them to respect us. We're medical assistants. We do the work. I know what you all do. We have to, by the time, they gave the nurses that, and they don't want it to us, but we do all the work. What do the nurses do in your clinics? We're putting the patients in, getting them to the doctors, getting their vitals, getting all of this and that, doing preventative health care, making sure they have appointments for mammograms and colonoscopies and this and that. And then we give them to the doctor. What's the doctor do? Come in there and smile. Hey, how you doing today? Tell me what happened last. We've already done all the work. We deserve to be respected. And I want that respect, and I hope that you all want that too. So we got to say yes to this strike vote, because Kaiser don't want no mess. Say yes, because they don't want no mess. That's my saying. And Yolanda, tell me, why are you willing to strike?
Pam, I'm willing to strike for the same reasons as you and Tanya are. I haven't been with Kaiser for the length of time that the two of you have, but you have what I came to Kaiser for. And since I've been here, I've watched my workload year over year increase. One more thing, just do this. It's just take a second. And I've watched my number of coworkers decrease. My friends and family are patients here at Kaiser, and they deserve safe patient care. They deserve to not have their care delayed. I am going to strike because I want to be respected, and I want to retire with a pension, and I want health insurance, and I want all my union brothers and sisters to have reasonable across the board wages and a living wage. Tanya, how about you? Oh no, Tanya, I think you're on mute.
Was Tanya? Oh, there she goes.
There we go. Welcome back.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay. So thank you, Yolanda. Like I said earlier, I'm willing to strike because like I said, I'm a single mom. And I'm not able to keep up with the cost of living. I need this inflation raise to help my kids get through college. I don't want to have to go out and get 2 jobs just to get by to take care of me and my kids. And it's like we work hard every day. We go above and beyond, and it's a slap in the face for us not to get our bonus and raises after everything we did working through this pandemic. And after 26 years, I've never experienced mess like this. After 26 years, this is horrible. So that's why I'm willing to strike. So I'm asking everybody to basically go out there and strike and say yes. And we have to fight for what we believe in. This is a critical moment. And I'm asking everybody in this meeting, are you ready and willing to strike? Please share in the chat why you personally are ready to strike. Because it's not enough for us to just, be ready to strike. We also need to reach out to our coworkers and call them and commit to strike. So I'm asking, are you willing to strike? Please share in the chat why you personally ready to strike.
Actually, so the chat is now open for questions as well. So if you have any questions for the group, you can put them in the chat and we'll respond to them in just a second.
Also in the chat, can you respond in the chat with your name and facility? And we'll follow up with you as well.
Tanya, Evelyn says, I'm very close to retirement and I want to guarantee a good retirement. Absolutely, Evelyn. Absolutely. So do we. Erica, I'm willing to strike for my family and for myself. Absolutely. What do we work so hard for, right? Our families, just like Tanya and her kids. Like, I'm a mom too. And I agree. Like, they need to move out, Tanya. I'm with you. Like, it's time. We have to have those conversations. And,
exactly.
And we have to have those conversations while we're waiting for more people to put their ideas in here. Harold is in orthopedics. Stephanie's giving heart.
Stephanie.
Yes.
I see a hand. I'm not sure if we can.
We have a question in the chat, which is, what day is the strike?
Dave is about to answer. He's coming. You're on mute, Dave. You gotta unmute him. There you go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I didn't do a good enough job before. What we're trying to do, it's up to the committee to make that decision, and we're coordinating with all of the other local unions in the coalition. The strike cannot happen before September 30th, which is when our contract expires. If we have authorization, we could call for a strike as early as October 1st, or at some point, shortly after that. But the exact date, just to be honest, we don't want to telegraph the whole thing to Kaiser, I think for obvious reasons. And we also have to do the coordination with all of the other groups. But because we have to give a 2-week notice or a 10-day notice, you know, we'll be ready to communicate that as soon as we make a decision. So thanks.
So I see a lot of everybody saying they're ready to. I am so happy to see that.
Yes.
Because
those of you who have, oh, sorry, go on.
I see
Go ahead,
hands up. Tom, are we
Well, I was going to say, those of you with your hands up, please, if you have a question, type it into the chat. We can respond to it that way.
striking for better wages? I see that. Let's say Oakland one said Oakland ready.
Yes.
I'm originally from Oakland, okay, but I'm here in Sacramento, so I want all of our towns to be ready. We all ready. I don't know if y'all can see my earrings. I have my little fighting lady on here because I stay ready, so I don't have to get ready. They're not gonna just be kind of way. I've been here.
I got you beat Kim. I got you beat Kim because I got my eyelashes purple.
Oh, what? A purple blanket.
Right.
We're gonna be like that movie. What's that one where everybody gets when they get shot?
Right. Right.
So much, but let's see what we have here in this chat. Questions.
There's a question about Futuro. There was a question about Futuro.
Well, let me get this question right here from Darylyn. It says, Dave, if we strike for less than a day or a couple of hours, do we go back to work that same day? That's a great question.
Yeah. If two things. The answer, if we were to do that, would be yes. I don't think anybody has any intention of sending or calling for a strike that's just a couple of hours in duration. But the larger point is that we will, when we send a notice, we'll name the dates, we'll name the times, we'll name the duration, and then people will be reporting back to work once the strike is over with, and that will be our approach to it.
Thank you, Dave. And
oh, sorry, go on, Kim.
Oh, I just see another question. So if we strike for, okay, not that way. How will the union support me if I can afford to miss days of work? San Francisco Mission Bay Family Med, and that's from Luz Cordero.
Yeah, no, I mentioned earlier, you know, we do have a strike fund. The strike fund has about $17 million in it. And, you know, we will work with people, you know, everybody's situation is different, but we want to use the resources we have to support people who need the support and who otherwise don't feel like they'd be able to be out on strike. So it's going to require a conversation, but we do have resources. We want to stretch the resources as far as we can, but we're prepared to use what we have to make it possible for people to do this.
Thank you, Dave.
And a question.
Go ahead.
Sorry, we've got a question from Allison. She said she wants to hear more about Futuro. Somebody talked about it briefly, want more understanding about how this is being discussed in bargaining.
So Futuro is one part of a comprehensive proposal that we're making to Kaiser about workforce development. And as all of the member leaders here have talked about, you know, short staffing is the critical issue that everybody's dealing with day to day, and particularly among medical assistants with over 1,100 vacancies. So we are proposing to both increase the resources to the education fund, and those funds can be used to, you know, to support people as they upgrade their skills or get into new programs. And then on the Futuro side, What that allows us to do is to identify people who are not now union members, to get them trained, and then to get them, hopefully hired at Kaiser. And what we're looking to do is to get specific numerical agreements on how many people, because we know we can find the candidates, we know we can train the candidates. Frankly, Kaiser has been impressed with the people who have graduated in the first 3 years of Futuro. And so we want this to become a pipeline for regularly filling some of the highest need jobs that we have inside of Kaiser. And we're trying to get that down to quantified numerical numbers, so that we can measure the progress that we're making.
I just had to point out that Brianna posts that she's a Futuro graduate, so that's great to have Kaiser members who are Futuro graduates in here, so that's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Sela asks, will the strike last 10 days?
So we're asking for authorization to call for a strike of up to 10 days. Once a strike starts, sometimes they end, sometimes they don't. Nobody has a crystal ball. But what we can control is setting the duration for how long it will last. And on the one side of the spectrum, if Kaiser discovers a day and a half in that, they can't deal with it, then it could be shorter than that. It's also possible that it could last, a full 10 days if we do the 10-day strike. So, all things are possible. I think we have to focus on what we can control. And that's why it's important to us. The first thing is we need an overwhelming vote to get authorization. We'll name the time and the date that we start, the time and the date that we end. And then after that, you have to just play it out and see what happens.
I'm seeing a number of questions about the strike vote. I did just post in the chat the link for the strike vote schedule. So you can see when the next vote is. We have over 500 dates and times for voting at all the different facilities. So there's lots of them, but you can hopefully find one that is near to you.
And also, you guys, please do those QR codes. If you have ever opted out of any of a union communication, you may not be getting the information that you want to have. Sometimes our phone numbers change. Sometimes we update our emails. Those QR codes that they have posted earlier in this, maybe we can repost them, are very important for you to get the most updated information in real time. When we're at bargaining, we are sometimes blasting out information to the people that we have contact information for at that very moment that news is breaking. So please, if you've ever had the opportunity to opt out or chose to opt out before or had a contact change, check out these QR codes, make sure you're updated. I know sometimes it can get a little overwhelming.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, Yolanda, that I noticed two messages in the chat, and I don't see them right now. But there was someone from Woodland Hills and someone from Santa Cruz. And if they're like, you should please take the shot of the QR codes. And if for whatever reason you're not able to do that, you can send us an email and we can follow up with you individually. So I think it was Sonia and Angelique. But if you get the QR codes, then you'll see where the votes are happening near you. And I'm almost 100% certain we're doing votes in Santa Cruz County, Angelique. I certainly know we're doing votes in Woodland Hills. I'm not sure, what the exact setup is at every outlying clinic, but you can get information if you use the QR codes, and we want to encourage people to do that.
Okay, we're going to wrap this up. We're a little over time already. I did see someone ask, is this recording going to be posted? And yes, we will absolutely make this recording available to folks, probably initially on the Facebook group. If you're not on our Facebook group, you should definitely join us on that, because that's where a lot of information is. But that's what we have time for today. So we will hopefully see all of you out at the strike vote and then out at the strike line and on Labor Day this Monday. So hopefully see you all then.
All right. Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Thank
Go
you, everyone.
Thank you guys. Thank you for coming on.
I am so happy to see so many medical assistants.
Yes.
Good night, everyone.
We
Good night.
have power. We can shut a clinic down.
Yes.
Clinic down. What them gonna do? Gonna make them, they don't want to give it to us, our 77625, make them nurses room their patients, take blood pressures, weight, check. I bet they can't even find how to do a preventative health care or a prompt.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Thank you all for joining.